Today, we're talking about the death and the rebirth of Lord Jupiter, the greater benefic, expansion, growth, prosperity, healing, wisdom, knowledge, children, fertility. This planet is opening a new doorway, a portal through the sun as he moves into the heart of the sun on May the 18th and comes out on the other side, born again, a tired old Jupiter getting renewed in the Taurus part of our tropical Western zodiac sky. This is something we only see every 12 years in the sign of Taurus. It's also accompanied by Venus in her home kingdom, watching over this rebirth. This gives it a very special flavor. I love this energy for a lot of us because it will renew us and restart us in something to do with the Taurus part of our whole sign house natal chart. It's not just about what happens on May the 18th. That is, yes, extremely auspicious, very positive energy, but it's what this signifies energetically as a focal point of your life in the 12 months that follow. This is an important concept to really understand. We're going to look at this through the lens of a couple of stars, Algol and Misam, that are sitting with this particular conjunction, as well as the asteroid Lucifer hanging out right there, and Apophis, the sea serpent that can destroy the earth. But nonetheless, Jupiter is a benefic and things should be pretty sweet. So we're going to cover this for your sign. I want you to listen for your rising sign first, sun and moon secondarily. I'm also going to talk about a little about the world. This is called mundane astrology, and I cover that a little brief overview of what this might mean for world leaders in particular, because Jupiter Sun is the royal signature. Now, also, if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Lori Lothian, and I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac whole sign house systems, as well as I'm using fixed stars and minor asteroids as needed. And today, as I said, we have two stars, Algol and Misam, and we also have Lucifer and Apophis, the asteroids, all bundled up into this conjunction. So remember I said we're going to look at, and hey, if you're new, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And if you want to win a prize, like a free reading with me or any other prizes, free courses, I'm giving a bunch of stuff away every single Sunday throughout the month of May in the context of you being a subscriber to my Cosmic Moonshine newsletter. If you're not a subscriber, get yourself over there, look in the description box, subscribe to my newsletter, then you'll have a chance each Sunday to win a prize. Okay? Otherwise, don't worry, don't join my newsletter. Don't win a prize. All right. Whoa, guys, I'm recording this for my Patreon community, May the 3rd, early access ad-free. So check out how to get into that smaller community as well, if that's something that you might enjoy. Now, this is complicated. I'm going to say that. It's complicated for one single reason. Jupiter is conjunct a star, Algol, that is known to be about death and rotting corpses and the cutting off of the Medusa's head and basically calamity. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard both have this star on their Venus at about 27 or 28 degrees of Taurus, which is where this conjunction is happening. Interestingly, we saw the destructive effects of Algol in their love story. Algol rules alcohol and therefore addictions as well. And this idea of the star being both potentially very challenging, but also very positive, is what I want to mention to begin with. You know, there is a part of this star that can bring wealth and success. And this star fluctuates. It's like it flickers. It's dark, it's light, it's dark, it's light. So if someone wants to check out the sky and see which cycle it's in, I think it's a 3-day flickering cycle. When this conjunction happens, when the star is darker, that is going to be less auspicious. Now, the other thing going on with this star is that it is conjunct, or Jupiter is over top of it with the sun. But Jupiter being a benefic planet and Venus, the goddess of the sign of Taurus, being there watchful of this conjunction, may suggest that it can be an easing of some of the challenges that Algol represents. But I'm not going to guarantee that, because this is also corpses and rotting bodies and death, fields of death, sorry, and Jupiter expands what it touches, and the sun can represent leader. You know, the nation of Israel has its natal sun in the house of death, the 8th house of death, at about 23 degrees of Taurus. And this is going to be really close to this conjunction. The sun of a nation can represent, the SON of a nation can represent the leader or the government in charge. And so we have this kind of really intense energy with Algol and the resetting of that area of the sky where the whole energy of Netanyahu, etc., sits. Venus, no, Sun-Uranus conjunction will happen here a week beforehand. Well, not a week. I mean, around the 12th and 13th of May, the Sun and Uranus will be at the 23rd degree of the sign of Taurus, right on the sun of Netanyahu. So this is, I mean, of the nation of Israel, which can represent Netanyahu as their leader, okay? Just because he is the de facto leader of the nation. So we'll see what happens, or the government in charge. We'll see what happens there, but we have a lot of erratic electric energy about that part of the sky that represents Israel and its sun in the house of death. We have that going on the 12th, 13th of May, and then we follow up to the 18th, and we have this conjunction of the sun and Jupiter. Now, there is a Sabian symbol for the sun at this particular degree of 28, rounds up to 29 Sabian symbol, and it is two cobblers working at a table, and the keyword is capability, and the theme is different points of view. Now, she actually talks about this in terms of themes of cooperation, discussion, communication, brainstorming, different points of view. The book I like to use, sharing, assistance, problem solving, and other things. Two heads together, a kind of idea. Two cobblers together, cobbling something together. Perhaps what we're seeing is the cobbling together of some kind of peace treaty, ceasefire, solution to the crisis in the wake of this Jupiter conjunct Sun. And maybe on the day of the Jupiter-Sun conjunction, in our news cycle, we may see some evidence of that. And we're talking about Saturday, May the 18th, 2024. I'm about to show you the chart, but give me a few more minutes to sort of wax eloquent about my thoughts on this. So the other element embedded within this is the star Misam, M-I-S-A-M, Misam, okay? Now, it's not a star I use a lot. I'm really familiar with Algol. I have to, confess it's not a part of my practice, but I did dig it up. So Misam, the star Misam, is sitting in the heart of this conjunction. In fact, Misam is at 28 degrees. Jupiter is at 28 degrees, and the sun is at 28 degrees Taurus. Yes, Algol is there, and Algol is involved at 26 degrees of Taurus, but it's much more tightly conjunct Misam, the Jupiter-Sun conjunction. So Misam in my astrology software is delineated as a star of the constellation of Perseus, the champion and rescuing hero. That makes sense because Algol is in the constellation of Perseus too, and represents the decapitated head of the Medusa, the one with the snakes that turn men into stone, the Gorgon. So it's in that same constellation, and it's the left elbow of the hero, Perseus, and it can represent alpha energy, high achieving, bold, champion energies. And it can also connect to being an agent of change. Although there can be a tendency to be overbearing and arrogant. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be about a world leader, because Sun and Jupiter both can represent governmental bodies and world leaders, but we may see some kind of high achieving, bold champion energy, but also something arrogant and overbearing around the time of this conjunction. Now, what I want to get through to each of us is this is something that's happening over the course of 12 months after the conjunction. It will take 12 more months for Jupiter to come together with the Sun, but in this time, next time, it will not be in the sign of Taurus, but rather in the sign of Gemini. And that's because this is a synodic cycle. Therefore, it's setting in motion a new beginning, a birth energy here of something in the Taurus part of the sky. This is a little more complicated than most risings because it's happening death and rebirth. Jupiter will rise in Gemini, and Jupiter won't be visible, by the way, until June the 7th or so. He went invisible, Jupiter, under the beams of the sun around the 28th of April. He becomes visible as he rises into the visible sky in June, around June the 7th. This is indicating that it's possible for you, me, and the world, that whatever Jupiter is doing with the sun in Taurus, as he goes into the heart of the sun and gets divine mission instructions, that he's going to execute and carry out the results in Gemini, because that is where he becomes visible. An invisible Jupiter is not able to operate effectively in the outer world. Even Venus, who's watching him, is invisible until July. So there's a lot of planetary weakness in our current sky with both Venus and Jupiter under the sun's beam. So keep that in mind. July, Venus is visible, and early June, Jupiter is visible. So we can expect calamitous things, difficult things, or I would say like no saving grace around things that are all Taurian. Taurian things involve commerce, markets, currency, stock markets, the bull, the symbol of the bull market, good luck bull market. It could also represent things to do with land and property and real estate and pleasure and cosmetics and beauty and sensuality, and just the labor force in the United States in particular, or the working energy of reality, plowing the fields, the bull, tilling the soil of reality. So this part of the sky can be debilitated by invisible Jupiter and invisible Venus in Taurus during the time of this conjunction. And then I'm thinking about, what about the other element of Lucifer at 29 degrees? Now, Lucifer was an arrogant angel who had created a war or rebellion in heaven. He was beautiful. He's called the morning star, which is one of Venus's names. And indeed, she is still a morning star, although invisible, and moving into her more witchy, invisible journey toward darkness. I mean, she's, you can't see her in the sky because of the light of the sun, but she's coming off of being, for the last 10 months, the morning star. And Venus morning star is a war star. And what have we been seeing since Venus became the morning star 10 months ago? But yes, war, lots of war. This was last August. She went into the heart of the sun from a retrograde in the sign of Leo and came out as the morning star, the warrior version of Venus. Now, Venus is dying to her warring ways, of course, on June the 4th, when she enters the heart of the sun in Gemini, but she's still in her warring ways, but somewhat weakened by the sun's beams, yet protected in her chariot. So it's I know it sounds like I feel like I'm doing a Game of Thrones conversation. Okay, so Venus has some protection from the sun, hypothetically, because she's in her home kingdom of Taurus. So even though she's invisible to the world, she still has a mitigating factor that gives her an element of regal protection from the heat and blinding rays of the sun. But still, we can't see her. And she's still a warrior star until she rebirths on the 4th of June at 14 degrees of Gemini. So we still have a warring Venus overlooking a Jupiter-Sun conjunction. And we have Lucifer, the asteroid that represents that fallen angel who basically was, pride and hubris took the angel down, okay, thinking he could overthrow the divine will and the order of heaven. Now, Jupiter can represent that part of the sky that is divine justice, divine order, divine knowledge and wisdom. And Lucifer, with a Jupiter connection, could be going for a big fall. So what world leader could have a massive fall and be kicked out of the high position as a result of what we're seeing on the conjunction of Jupiter, Sun, and Lucifer happening together at the same time on the 18th of May? Perseus cut the Gorgon's head off. The Gorgon was a monster. We can debate the original story because it sounds like it was a demonized feminine victim becoming a monster. But nonetheless, the Gorgon is a monster that can turn men to stone with her snakes in her hair, the Medusa, and he cut her head off. And this is considered a victory, cutting off the head of a monster. Is it possible that the head, a titular, the head of state, some head of state will have his or her head cut off, and also we'll see, and is considered to be by some people a monster, and we'll see the fall of the arrogant, prideful, FU angel, Lucifer, who did not want to abide by the cosmic and divine laws of heaven and wanted to do it his own way. That's a story. What do you guys think? Now, You know, in real life, the ICJ is considering arrest warrants for Netanyahu et al., and perhaps that's all it is. It's like, okay, this is really a bad slap on the hand by The Hague, and the ability for countries that abide by the ICJ to arrest any of these Israeli statesmen should they leave the country and be found in one of the countries that abide by the rulings of the ICJ court. ICC, International Criminal Court. Is there a J in there? You know what I mean, right? The International Criminal Court, the ICC. Anything else to say about this? Okay, and one more thing for the world, then we'll do your sign. And in doing your sign, we're going to talk about if Jupiter's lights are out and he's out of order or he's off duty, for example, where in your chart between now and June the 9th will you find that perhaps 7th, 9th, he's going to be visible? Where will you perhaps find yourself in a situation where you have to be more careful or cautious about things you're doing in the part of the sky that he rules? He rules your Pisces and Sagittarius sky, as of course where he's sitting in his invisibility, which is of course Taurus. The asteroid Apophis is an asteroid that can create catastrophes, and it's the enemy of the sun god. So it's the enemy of the sun god. Now, you could take this as a story, catastrophes, Nakba. You can take this as a story that a sun god enemy, or an enemy of a sun god, is active in this conjunction. So what is a sun god? Our mortal, our everyday world, a sun god is a ruler, a head of state. And the enemy of the sun god is here, along with the Lucifer story. So I'll just go with the overall, a takedown, a bring down, and a great fall of a world leader who is considered by many people to be a monster. I leave it up to you to figure that out. Now, it can take place on the conjunction of May the 18th, but it can also occur in the 12 months that follow. This is a synodic cycle. Get your pen and paper handy. I'm going to give you the other dates in which this cycle has been occurring. You know, it's an interesting one. Back in May 19th of 1941, the sun co-joined in the sign of Taurus, and that was connected to the United States getting into World War II because of the bombing of Pearl Harbor, that same 12 months that followed. Keep that in mind. The workforce, the labor force, the everyday Joe in the United States, the sixth house Taurus Sibley chart, sixth house, is the conscription field from which people were drawing soldiers, and they also instituted the draft in 1941. In 1964, April the 22nd, the two of the planets came together. Now, back in 1941, and I really want you to listen to this for a minute, this happened at 28 degrees. Yes, the same degree that's happening now. It drew the United States into a world war. It involved an attack on the soil of the United States by Japan. It involved the introduction of conscription or the draft. You want to consider those all possible again, because cycles do repeat themselves. And Uranus in 1941 was in the sign of Taurus as it is now. 1941 is the closest approximation to the sun conjunction to Jupiter that we've seen in a long time. Now, in 1964, April 22nd, at 2 degrees of Taurus, these two planets came together, the Sun and Jupiter. And in the year that followed, if you're old enough, you had a major activation for abundance, prosperity, soulful direction, being in alignment. You know, Sun is your soul with the reality structures of your Taurus whole sign house. This was where light switch was turned on. Then in 1976, on April the 27th, at 7 degrees of Taurus, we had yet another conjunction of the Sun and Jupiter in the sign of Taurus. And then in 1988, at 12 degrees of Taurus, on May the 2nd, Jupiter-Sun conjunctions. And then again in May 8th of 2000, at 17 degrees of Taurus, Jupiter-Sun conjunction. And then in 2012, the last one before this one, May 13th at 23 degrees of Taurus. Now, it's interesting because the nation of Israel has its sun in the 8th house at 23 degrees of Taurus. And it could be useful to go back and look at what happened in the political stories, the leader stories of Israel in May of 2012 to the spring of 2013, when this synodic cycle happened, because it's pretty close to the same degree at 28 this time. And it all also involves, of course, an element of the Sun and Uranus having co-joined at 23 degrees on May the 12th, 13th. So let's go back over our own lives and go 1941, 1964. I know we're missing a beat there. For whatever reason, Jupiter-Sun missed a conjunction between May of 41 and April 64. I'm looking at software, so the software is probably right. But 1941, April of 1964, April of 1976, April of 1988, April of 2000, and April 2012, you, me, everybody had this energy of a kind of a blessing of Jupiter in the Taurus part of the sky, connected to solar things. Now, the sun is your very reason for being in a body and incarnated. It's the soul energy. It has to do with the divine mind. It has to do with what your ideal purpose for being alive is. And so each of us kind of got that infusion of Jupiter blessings around the concept of being more on purpose in the Taurus part of one's sky over the course of 12 months that followed, with a special emphasis on a positive day, the day of the conjunction. Mary Tyler Moore was born with a Jupiter-Sun conjunction. So was Adele, and so was Maya Angelou. These three women are carrying the energy of the divine wisdom of Jupiter and the divine order that he brings, and the solar energy as well in their lives as performers and artists and poets. So keep that in mind as a way of feeling into this energy. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to also talk about this cycle when it involves Israel back in 2012. What happened to world leaders in Israel in 2012? Well, just like a good old bookend, the reality of bookends, one of the things that happened in 2012 and 2013 was Netanyahu was elected into office. So now, one of the things that also happened was the former Israeli Prime Minister Olmer was charged with taking bribes in a property scandal, but these were happening early on. So as we moved into this conjunction in the month of April, we have in place a few factors. Okay, we have in place the idea of Netanyahu coming into power. Let me double check my math here, the dates. Okay, and yes, a Jerusalem court convicted the former prime minister of a breach of trust and acquits him on counts of fraud. Okay, so there was a taking a political former leader into justice, right? Jupiter is justice. The sun is the leader. So there was an element of justice for a former leader of Israel being dispensed during the last Jupiter conjunction, not the last one, the one in 2012, on the top of the sun of the nation of Israel. And I'm really curious about this because this particular conjunction, again, is going to be so close to the sun of Israel, which is the leader of Israel, as I introduced in the beginning of the story. Now, they had the elections, and let's see, Benjamin Netanyahu won. Just basically, Netanyahu won the election. At the same time, early in the year, between January and April, Barack Obama visited Palestine and did a tour of Palestine and the situation there. So we had a more moderate stance back then towards what was going on, I suppose. And also in the new year, January through of 2013, still in the 12-month orb of the Jupiter conjunction in 2012 at 23 Taurus on the sun of Israel, we also had the United Nations saying this. Let me pull that up for you guys. Give me a second while I locate it. Basically, Netanyahu got into power and said, we are going to no longer destroy any of the settlements that are illegal. We're in her second term or whatever. I'm not destroying any more settlements. That's basically the gist of that. But at the same time, it was, let me get it for you. The United Nations on January 31st of 2013, still within the 12 months from the Jupiter conjunction on the sun of Israel from the year before, United Nations says that Israeli settlements must be immediately withdrawn without preconditions to comply with Article 49 of the Fourth Geneva Convention. So there is a hand slap by the United Nations at the time of the last Jupiter. Wisdom, truth, fairness, right? Justice, cosmic order on the nation of Israel's sun. And that was, of course, an impotent declaration by the world, by the United Nations, because every time the United Nations says this, nothing happens. And yes, Barack Obama visited Palestine and Jordan. And Israel started to extract gas from the Tamar offshore gas fields. Okay. And a swarm of locusts landed in Israel from Egypt. Alrighty, guys, let's go ahead and do your sign. Let's get rolling and take a look at what this looks like for you. Let's pull up the chart. Let's get going for your sign. It is so weirdly, my screen looks so weirdly dark. I think I'm going to work out a new area for my work where I get a little bit better light for me and better light for everything. Okay, so we're talking about May 18th, and you can see in the sky up here, as I mentioned earlier, and I'll briefly annotate. There we have Jupiter, Sun, and this is, oh, let's bring Apophis in, that, you know, sea serpent that destroys worlds. The enemy of the sun god Ra is here. And here's Algol and Misam, and here's Lucifer. What a hot spot. There's Venus midwifing the whole story. But as I said, protected in her chariot from the beams of the sun, but still we can't see her with our eyes, and therefore she may be weakened a bit. And we have Jupiter, Uranus, and Mercury here as well. Uranus, of course, being the unexpected, unpredictable, shocking, and lightning bolts of change. And we will have already come off of the 12th and 13th of May. Sun conjunct Uranus on the sun of the nation of Israel. Let's see in the hindsight and recording before all this happens, what will have happened. Now, you'll note that as this conjunction is happening, we want to ask ourselves, are there any other participating planets of any note? And of course, there is indeed the participation of Neptune. Neptune is flowing to this conjunction. So when I delineate the all signs, I'm going to bring into the story a bit about how Lord Saturn is helping Neptune bring concrete, tangible, and realistic results to some fantastical, visionary, hopeful wishes and dreams. But anytime you see a Jupiter-Neptune flow, and this is that, it is a very good energy. It is very spiritually elevated. It's very noble. It's very high level positivity. And in that case, I'm thinking this can be a little rainbow and unicorn here for us, not just on the 18th of the month when this is occurring, but also in the year that follows, baking in an overlay of a Neptunian vibration in the narrative. And as we go forward for your sign, I'm going to talk about what Jupiter rules in your chart, because that's where he's off duty, or he's dimmed down, or he's not producing results. Your Sag and Pisces part of your sky. So you might be very cautious until he's visible on the 9th of June about over-optimistic and over-ambitious energies in that part of your sky. I am going to also draw for each sign from my Guiding Light Oracle deck, just for fun, honestly, just for some change of pace. This is a cute little deck called the Guiding Oracle deck, and I thought we'd just draw a card for each sign, because it's not just about what happens on May the 18th. It's what happens in the 12 months that follow. By the way, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell for notifications if you like what I'm up to, because I do put all sign videos out every single, like all my videos are all signs, no matter what happens. The weeklies on Monday, the 2 moons a month, all the eclipses. I'm always covering how it will impact you based on your sign. You'll be listening for your rising sign to represent almost everything about you, whereas the sun can represent your career and purpose and father figures, and the moon signs to listen to that is about your body and your home and maybe your mother figures, which is why also listening for your rising sign can be very successfully accurate. But surely try all three. In India, they'd say listen to your moon sign, because it's your mind and how you're thinking and reacting and perceiving the actual events around you. So listen to all three and let us know how it goes. The sun is your soul, and maybe if you're very aligned with your soul and your eternal essence, then maybe this part of you is running the script, not the character of the ascendant, and maybe your sun is indeed more accurate for you. So please listen to all three and make up your minds. All right, let's get rolling and talk first about Aries, and then we'll go through the zodiacal order. I'm not going to remind you guys of the dates this happened before, right? I mean, it's every 12 years, right? But I did give you in the beginning, it was spring of 2000. it was spring of 2000, it was 2012, spring of 2000, and was that, did I say 1976? Let me double check. And if you could just remember this for yourself to go back and compare notes to the past, yes, it was April of 76. Okay, so April of 64, April of 76, May of 88, May of 2000, May of 2024. And the next one is not until April of 2047. So we're skipping a beat like we did between 1941 and 1964, probably because of a retrograde Jupiter making a pass at the sun and therefore skipping a sign, skipping over Taurus. So we won't get this conjunction in Taurus again until 1947. Holy moly, it's important. And it has a lot in common at the same degree as May 19th, 2000, May 19th, of 1941, the draft, the United States in war, and attack by a foreign country, Pearl Harbor, on the land of the United States. So we shall see. Okay, let's get back to the big picture sky right now and roll through each sign. Hello, guys. Let's get back to the all signs portion of today's session. We're going through the Jupiter story in your sky, Aries through Pisces. Okay, I had to start re-recording because I forgot to start my recording again. So this is me doing the first three signs again. Oh, yay. So here we go. We're going to back it up to Aries. And I am one of you, Sun and Moon. To remember the basics of the way we're approaching this today, you're going to go back and see the vibration of what happened in the year that followed, both the May of 2000, the May of 2012, the April of 2000, and no, the May of 1976, the May of 2000, the April of 2020, 2012, add a year, and 12 months, because these were the last times Jupiter and Jupiter and the sun were together in a conjunction, or a death and rebirth of Jupiter in the Taurus part of your sky. Now, I'm going to also address something I mentioned earlier, that, well, he does die, Jupiter, in the heart of the sun in Taurus. This time, as he did back in 2012, Mars will rise in the sign of Gemini, where he becomes visible again early in June, around the 7th. Therefore, we're going to draw our attention to both the Taurus part of the sky and the Gemini part as well, reminding you that you're listening for your rising sign first. The sun can be about career and purpose and father figure. The moon can be about home, body, safety needs, and mother figures. Yet the rising sign is going to be mostly all about you. Let's get rolling. This will be about a 40-minute section, so get ready, take notes if you need to, and I'll draw a quick card for each of us as well. So Aries, this is a story where you're having a Jupiter rebirth in your part of your sky that's your financial well-being and your money and resources. Certainly, I went back and looked at my 2012 and 2000, and I had financial increases from inheritances or new jobs in both of those windows of time. So for you as well, this may be something where you see an increase in your money. In 1976, I was working my first summer job. I saw an increase in my wealth or my finances. How are you going to see that in your life this year? Well, look for the increase in the prosperity and plenty and abundance of financial goodness in your second house of resources and possessions. With a flow from Neptune, this is also really good for increasing your revenue, and you're generating new money from foreign places and foreign shores, involving far off places and borderless revenue and income, thanks to Neptune. As well, Neptune can help you remove yourself from a self-sabotaging pattern, habit, or addiction, or any self-undoing in your life from things that you put into your mouth. And Jupiter and Neptune, Sun, are all combining forces in order to achieve that kind of goodness and optimism and faith and a hope that you can indeed kick a habit. Now, the thing is that, well, this is happening, reminding you that Jupiter will be rising in your third house of travel, trips, writing, siblings, neighbors, and neighborhood. And something about that part of your third house sky, including skills-based learning and teaching, will be highly activated in a positive and beneficial way over the 12 months that follow the May 18th conjunction of Jupiter and the Sun. Be careful around matters that have to do with the ninth house. This is foreign travel, foreign shores, and pilgrimages. This is the Lord of the ninth house in a sign of a place of invisibility through to June the 9th. You may overly optimistic and overly ambitious about what you can achieve in academic, court matters, and things as well to do with your foreign travel and foreign shores. And I'm going to be on a pilgrimage to Portugal, and the El Camino will probably be the El Camino as I cab my way through the whole ordeal. Now, also watch out for 12th house things, because they're also kind of Jupiter invisible and off duty until June the 9th. Don't make any major attempts to change things here or to ambitiously pursue things such as extra revenue from foreign places and shores, or even, yes, the idea of quitting a bad habit. You might have to wait until June when visible Jupiter is in the story again. Your card from the Guiding Light Oracle, which is one of my favorite decks, and I did introduce that I would do this, but I might have forgotten to restate it. For this 1 year story of the Jupiter Taurus Gemini narrative is divine timing. You are here with the Guiding Light Oracle's guidance to move in ways that you allow for divine timing. And your keywords are what you are working on now is divinely guided. What you are working on in the next year is divinely guided. Of course it is. It's Jupiter. He is the divine guidance itself. Thank you, Aries, for listening, and hopefully you have an amazing experience of this particular synodic cycle. Please compare it to the past. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. It's happening in the house of you. It is all about you. Now, reminding you that Jupiter here is going to reset a cycle that he did in the spring of 76, the spring of 2000, the spring of 2012. Indeed, this is as close as you can get to the 2012 story, because this is 2012, 28 degrees of Pisces. Is that right? No, 23 degrees of Pisces. So of Taurus. Oh, guys, I'm so tired today. Okay, so you get it, right? I've been trying to cram a bunch of recordings in so I can go to Portugal and take a month off of recordings. So what I'd say here is you are being born again. Jupiter is in the house of your identity. You are engaged in a death and rebirth process, and you may have felt that you did the same kind of death and rebirth energy in your very sense of self and selfhood back in the other dates that I've mentioned. Now, as this death and rebirth is taking place here in the sign of Taurus, you also have a midwife called Venus. So she's in her chariot under the beams of the sun, but still she is fairy godmother watching over this. And I think this is going to make this extremely positive sense of self-renewal and self-reinvention, and also feeling blessed by goodness and good luck and hope and faith over the next year. But Jupiter also will be supported in this rebirth by Neptune in your 11th house. And your 11th house is friends and allies and benefactors, as well as greater career gains. And those elements will be in a state of increase and beneficial goodness for you in the 12 months that follow this conjunction on May the 18th. Now, also, remember, we also have the rising of Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. That means that you're also going to see collateral benefits after the 7th of June through to next spring regarding your earnings and your possessions and your financial resources. This could be blessings in getting an ideal job, blessings in getting some financial assistance, or even inheritance monies. And with Jupiter in your 10th house, when we're talking job, we're talking about powering up to a kind of a really good salary, a really good recompense for whatever the career work direction is for you in the next 12 months. You will be pleasantly surprised by your luck and success when it comes to earnings and career. Also, if you need to get rid of an addiction, self-undoing, a bad habit pattern, etc., the rising of Jupiter in the second house, especially given that he's rising here in a way he hasn't done since 2012. He rose in Gemini after conjuncting Jupiter in your house of your being. You could find that this could bring you some really positive money through family of origin and not just your work itself, right? You could really be lucky in that way. And it's also good for your health because you'll be able to solve your dietary food and ingestion style, especially if you are eating stuff that is not good for you, drinking or smoking as well. Now, I have a bunch of children playing outside the window, but it's hot as hell here. I'm hoping that's not too noisy. The mic is directed at me, so hopefully the kids laughing outside don't bother you. But I have to say, Jupiter rules children, and you can't make this shit up. And they're out there having a blast on a warm summer day in Vancouver, Canada. Because Jupiter is off duty and not visible all the way through until next June 7th, be careful. Oh, not till June 7th. June 7th of this year. Be very careful that you don't become overly ambitious and aggressively optimistic when it comes to matters to do with your career gains or friendship circles. That's your 11th house. He's out of the duty. He's off duty. He's out to lunch. And you may make some mistakes there. Be careful as well that you don't have the same kind of optimism around your inheritances, your chunky money, your tax rebates, and money you share with a significant other. That is the Sagittarius 8th house. These are areas of challenge or not great results until after June the 7th. So just kind of take your time, and if you can pause and wait on taking action in those areas of your life, I would do that. Now, finally, I'm drawing a card from the Guiding Light Oracle for every single sign, because if I have to say guiding light, that's definitely a Jupiter energy, especially in the connection to the sun, the luminary. So what is your message for the year that follows this cycle? Starting in May on the 18th, all the way through to next spring, this Taurus cycle, not back until 2037, offers you the following. A starry night is your guiding light car, a starry night. And the words are, the beaming and glistening light from the stars reminds you that there is hope for your future. Well, hope is a Jupiter word, and this particular conjunction in the sign of you will give you hope in the year ahead about your very own future. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. I have a progressed sun here, so I can relate. This is going to be a Jupiter conjunction at 18 degrees. At 28 degrees on May the 18th. Of course, every sign I'm reminding you, spring of 76, spring of 2000, spring of 2012, please go back and compare notes because you have a reset button in your 12th house. Now, this is excellent for resetting yourself around addictions and self-sabotaging patterns and habits, better for your health, but also resetting yourself around financial gain and foreign shore travel or gain or even foreign shore events. Now, this reset button here, or this new beginning, isn't just about your 12th house, and which is a spiritual house, and it can re-illuminate or illumine you in terms of your spiritual awakening journey. Okay, just keep that in mind as well. In 2012, I was on the other side of a spiritual awakening from the fall of 2011. But also, you could find that this is a place where you're resetting your downtime, your bed pleasures, your private life, what you want to do out of sight, behind the curtain of life. And you want to take time to do things in this space, right? Write a book, create a project, incubate an idea. And it resets you around the word solitude and aloneness. And Jupiter says goodness in solitude, bounty and prosperity and hope and faith in being more alone and taking time to be by yourself, and even to the point where you might come into contact with a spiritual guide, teacher, mentor, or guru in the year that follows this conjunction. Well, also he rises in Gemini, which is a sign of you. Therefore, your sun, Gemini career, your moon, your home and nest, but also Gemini general purpose arising. You rise, you become more successful, bounteous, prosperous, magnanimous, and blessed. People are drawn to you. You're magnetic and you're lucky. And you can have that kind of personal magnetism June the 7th through to the spring of next year, because from the death of Jupiter in the 12th, the rising of Jupiter in the house of your identity is a very important story. This kind of happened also in 2012, where Jupiter died in the 23rd degree of Taurus and rose in the sign of Gemini. Where did you die? Within your deep subconscious, spiritual, and rise again. Be careful in your identity, okay? So that was my Wake and Dreamer blog taking off, going viral. And I was suddenly all over the map with my writing online. So it really did help my progressed Gemini sun rise. Now, also, don't do anything aggressive or overly optimistic with your marriage partners, business partners, audience, and marketplace. That's where Jupiter has dominion, and he's invisible, so he cannot do anything about it, right? He cannot help you until after June the 7th. And you're also off duty with career ambition, success stories. It's kind of lay low between now and June the 7th. Don't try any major moves or any major hopeful, endeavors to like ratchet something up. You likely won't succeed with Jupiter invisible until June the 7th. After that, it's game back on. Now, when we want to draw a guiding light card from Jupiter in the sun together, as a message for the year that follows this conjunction of May the 18th, we get for you, Gemini, align with your wholeness. Align with your wholeness. You are not your illness, symptoms, or habits. You are the person you are. You are the person. You, the person, are always whole and perfect. Align with your wholeness. You are not your illness, your symptoms, or your habits. That's interesting because the bad habits of the 12th are here in the death and rebirth, as well as hospitals and sicknesses as well. You are not your illness, symptoms, or habits. You, the person, are always, always whole and perfect. That's your message for the year ahead for Gemini rising, sun, and moon. All right, Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. Here's a story for you that you haven't seen since spring of 76, spring of 2000, spring of 2012. And this is the death of Jupiter in your 11th house. Now, Jupiter dying can mean that a Jupiter person, like a teacher or a powerful friend, could leave your life here because somebody here or an elder sibling may fall away from you in some way. On the other hand, this could also mean superior blessings from friends and elder sibling, especially since Jupiter brings bounty, prosperity, and plenty. This is also the house of your greater career gains, where there's a death and rebirth reset button. And maybe in the 12 months that follow, you'll find you get a raise, a promotion, or you're able to generate more wealth and revenue from the work and career direction that you've taken in your life. Jupiter is in a condition here, of course, of being invisible until June and as he does his reset button, I should mention, he has support from Neptune. A lot of your career gains and your friendship circles are going to orient you towards foreign shores, foreign lands, book publishing, but also a deeper connection to the divine impulse. I mean, Neptune in the 9th house is very much like the spiritual wisdom, not the religious dogma, and the spiritual illumination and this visionary light of imagination, Neptune, coming from the house of God, informs how you succeed in your 11th house of great career gains over the course of the next year. Jupiter is visible finally around the 7th of June. And this is indicating a time, therefore, after that, where he can be effectively helping you. But before then, be careful, because you may make some missteps, perhaps, when it comes to health matters, 6th house, dogs, pets, tenancies, debts, or even just your work routines and work life. Be careful to not make any major choices and decisions until after June 7th. We want him to be in visible form to help you out in his home kingdoms that he rules. He also is unable to support you very, very well in your 9th house and foreign land travel and shores and court and legal matters, spiritual faith, etc. Book publishing can be kind of a place of impotence for Jupiter until he becomes visible and can support success in those kingdoms that he owns after the 7th of June. Now, let's take a card for you and see what is the Guiding Light Oracle say about what this Jupiter conjunction is offering you. The Guiding Light Oracle says in the next year, your key words here are visualization. Well, I like that because Neptune, the god of visualization, is in the house of God during this conjunction, which can only, in my humble opinion, be extremely auspicious. So By practicing visualization daily, you are calling forward your desire, and it will soon be a tangible experience in your current reality. Therefore, harness the power of visualization for you to make your dreams come true in the year ahead. That's kind of lovely, because dreams come true, or dreaming and wishing what you want in your life belongs to the 11th house, where the reset is happening. Now, I almost forgot to mention that, of course, Jupiter rises in your 12th house, and that means that you will also experience some visible success June 7th to spring of next year in the matters of the 12th house. That include improvements in your health, improvements in things to do with ending addictions and self-undoing, improvements in your revenue generated far off and foreign shores and lands, and maybe some successful adventures or learning to do with spiritual teachers, ashrams, gurus, or even just adventures for educational and spiritual reasons. Certainly, Jupiter rising in the 12th can take many Cancers into success in learning environments, book publishing environments, things that Jupiter can witness from the 12th and activate the 9th house, for example. You may travel to far off foreign shores as well in the year that follows this conjunction. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. We have a story of Jupiter resetting a button for a year here, in your 10th house of career and reputation. Now, the last time he did a reset button in your 10th house, guys, is back in the spring of 76, the spring of 2000, the spring of 2012, April, May. And this is meaning that you're back. This story is back. And where you're resetting is what you want to achieve in your visible space of success, ambition, and career, and how people see you and witness you doing shit in the world. It's your visible space of your reputation. It's your 10th house. And Mars resetting, Jupiter resetting with the sun here. Get some cooperation from Lord Neptune in your 8th house. This reset can benefit your shared resources with a spouse, your mortgages, your banks, things to do with your long-range investments, and the kind of treasure chest of unearned income, including inheritances, over the course of the next year. Now, Jupiter resetting here is going to also rise in June on this, like he'll be visible in June as he rises in Gemini. And that can indicate also in the next year, greater success in the gains from your career. The reputation earnings are increasing, and you're having a lot of 10th and 11th house hoopla of goodness. Also, maybe increase for your elder sibling as a result of your chart, or some positive increase in your connection to friends who act like allies and benefactors and wish to help you, including great deal of plenty and support from an elder sibling. Jupiter is off duty, and he cannot witness his 5th house of children. Decisions, actions around fertility, pregnancy, creativity, entrepreneurship, and children are not the wisest yet. Wait for Jupiter's visibility around the 7th of June. Similarly, shared resources with a business partner, spouse, your tax accounting, your investment monies are suspect to confusion until we get that visible Jupiter June 7th onwards. So be careful. Let's see what we have for you in the Guiding Light Oracle about Jupiter's death and rebirth, and how this year ahead will be indicating what's next, Oh, you're the second, I shuffled the deck. You're the second sign to get visualization. By practicing visualization daily, you are calling forward your desire, and it will soon be a tangible experience in your current reality. Okay, well, Jupiter is about the hopefulness in the house of your wishes when he rises. And of course, Neptune is a god of imagination, and they're all involved in this. So I'd say for you, visualize your financial well-being of all things and picture your prosperity. Yes, money does grow on trees, just for you. So Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. It's a story here where we see that just like we saw in 1976 spring, 2000 April, May, and also 2012 April, May, around there, we saw this reset button of Jupiter in the sun in the sign of Taurus. This can indicate an energy, therefore, of resetting your spiritual belief and your faith, your relationship to father figures, foreign shoreland and travels, court and legal matters, and also academic and higher educational outcomes. There's a big blessed new beginning here over the course of the next 12 months from this conjunction on May the 18th. With support from Neptune, you get a lot of cheerleading or support from a dreamy other. It could be a marriage partner, a significant other, it could be a client, it could be a business partner. Some Neptunian other is helping encourage your success in the year ahead regarding those ninth house matters. For some of you, it may even be success around foreign short travel, maybe even relocation, because Jupiter rules your fourth house. However, you might not be able to receive the best of this energy. Oh, no, let's go say one more thing. Jupiter will rise because he's invisible. He rises to visibility in Gemini. That's your career space. So you can expect after June the 7th, some significant increase in your career success as you rise up into new levels of authentic power, maybe financial goodness, maybe reputation expansion over the course of the 12 months that follows this conjunction, especially after June the 7th through to spring of next year. Jupiter cannot witness the fourth house. Do not make major changes around your home life and domestic life. And Jupiter cannot witness the marriage house. Do not make major changes regarding client and marriage type relationships until after June 7th, when you have the wisdom of Jupiter activated in the sky as a visible planetary body. What is your guiding light oracle card for the next year ahead from this May 18th add 12 months conjunction? What do you need to know, O Virgo? You have the 44th card, but a lucky number, soul searching. Okay, Virgo, it's time in the next year to go within and uncover your true feelings. Now, I like that because the ninth house is the Dharma house where this conjunction happens. And the deepest question of the ninth house in your soul search is, what is the meaning and purpose of my life? What is the way I can move into alignment with my true flow, my Dharma, and the perfect way to like show up in this world? And you can soul search for that in the course of the next year. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. So Jupiter is renewing and resetting himself in your Taurus 8th house in a way he hasn't done since the spring of 76, spring of 2000, and spring of 2012. And in each of those timeframes, you will always add 12 months to see the influence of a new synodic cycle. Now, Jupiter is resetting you in your 8th house. Did I say 8th house? I hope I did. And this 8th house reset is about inheritance money, money from tax rebates, chunky money from, a tax, did I say that, insurance payouts, but also money you just don't earn coming to you. I also include royalty income here. I've noticed it works that way. Now, the other thing I'd say about the 8th house is it's also the place where you share resources with another person as a spouse, or it's a bank, or it's a mortgage holder, or whatever. So those places are very lucky, magnanimous, and bountiful over the course of the energy of the next 12 months. Now, also, and May 18th may be especially auspicious when the sun and Jupiter are perfectly aligned. But also Jupiter is getting some energy from Neptune in the 6th house, and they can indicate some positive improvements in your health and also some improvements in your work and work situations that increase your financial well-being. Some dream work environments, dream work situations may arise for you. Now, with Jupiter also rising in June to the visible Jupiter in the sign of Gemini on June the 7th or so, you could rise when it comes to matters to do with foreign shores, foreign lands, court and legal matters, book publishing environments. I'm giving you third house meanings, religious faith, foreign shore and foreign land travel. Now, Jupiter rising in your 9th house is Jupiter rising in a very powerful place where normally he has some kind of success because he could represent that spiritual guru, the pastor, the preacher, the wise one, the rabbi or something. So it's an uplifting as well of your spiritual mindset over the course of the next year. If you're somebody, though, that literally does book publishing or is involved in the industry, or the word publications in general, including maybe publishing a podcast, posting, publishing, this is going to be an area of great success for you over the 12 months ahead. Be careful you don't make major decisions because wise Jupiter is off duty until June 7th regarding matters of your third house. This would be around your siblings, your neighbors, and neighborhood stories, as well as things you're doing with writing projects in the online world. Be careful not to make major decisions about that at this juncture. Wait till after June the 7th. Similar kind of watch out for major choices, decisions, or actions you might be compelled to make around work situations and health matters. That's your sixth house, or pets or rentals. And you might want to wait until June the 7th when we have a Jupiter whose wisdom is readily available because he is a visible planet once again in the sky, in the morning sky. So let's take a look at this card for you that gives you the theme and the guiding light oracle of what Jupiter wants you to know in the 12 months that follow this conjunction. And that is visualization. You are the third person in a shuffled deck of 58 cards or something. How many cards in this deck? I'm not sure. But you are the third person to get this 68 cards. Let's go again. By practicing visualization daily, you are calling forward your desire, and it will soon be a tangible experience in your current reality. If I was visualizing for you, it would be about better health and work situations, your dream pet, your dream rental location, your dream debt elimination. I would also visualize about you being really strongly connected to success in your dharma, your spiritual philosophy, foreign travel, and also your own and book publishing and your own religious spiritual faith. Certainly Neptune in the sixth with Jupiter in the ninth rising could mean some of you will have opportunities to travel or to relocate abroad for work and work reasons. Now we're moving into the next sign. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. Hey, Jupiter hasn't risen in the sign of Taurus, which is your marriage house, since the 1976 spring of 2000 and spring of 2012. And here we go again, round and round we go. I have a Scorpio friend, and when I think back to her narrative, it would be in 2000 that she met her husband, and that rising brought her a mate of 20 years. Okay. So you might want to look to the patterns regarding long-term committed love that may have been encouraged by Jupiter in your seventh house. On the other hand, those times may have involved that conjunction plus a year where your significant other did really well, or where you could decide to get engaged, married, or move in together, an up level or expansion of the terms of a long-term love story. And you could bring really lucky clients and customers and audience to your life as well during these cycles. Now, Jupiter here is also participating in a flow from Neptune, a god of high imagination and visualization, in your fifth house of creativity and writing, creativity, the muse, inspiration, entrepreneurship. And if you're an artist, a creative, an entrepreneur, this is very auspicious. Also, this is a house of fertility and children and your own children. So some dreamy, positive energies around those people and those situations over the course of the next year. We would watch out as well for the fact that Jupiter rises, or to take note of his rising in your eighth house of chunky money, and therefore your finances will do better. And that could indicate an inheritance coming to you, for example, sometime between June and spring of next year. We want visible Jupiter, so he's visible around the 7th of June in your chunky money house, or your shared monies with your spouse, or the bank loans, mortgages. All of that is in superpowered success mode over the course of a year. You had that kind of financial success after the rising of Jupiter in your 7th house in 2012. Okay. At a year. Now in the spring, just be careful, because when Jupiter is invisible, his management of his houses in your chart is off duty. He's unable to manage your earnings and spending of your second house. Be careful around spending and buying, earnings and possessions around this time through to June the 7th. Don't do anything precipitous. Similarly, be a little more cautious with regards to children, fertility, creativity, art projects, pleasure and sexuality and romance. Those are areas where Jupiter rules that part of your sky, your fifth house, but he's not a visible planet until June 7th. So don't make any decisions. You're lacking the knowledge and wisdom and all of that, and the goodness to do an effective job. If you can delay in those kinds of areas of life I mentioned, it's probably a good idea. Let's see what the card is for you here. Let's take a card for you. Let me check the time. Okay. Whew. What do you get when Jupiter and the sun come together as a guiding light oracle message that gives you some guidance for the year ahead? So this spring through to next spring, or this May 18th through to next May or June. Oh, a beacon of light. Ah, no one's had this card yet. Beacon of light, card 63. You are a leader, a teacher, and a mentor for many people around you. You are a beacon of light, okay, in the year ahead. Well, that's interesting. Many people could be influenced by you because you have the Jupiter reset with a stellium in your 7th house of audience and marketplace and customers and clients. Therefore, what you're doing may be very Jupiter, teacher, guru, and guide to others in the year ahead. Next sign is Sagittarius. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. With this reset button by Jupiter, who is the Lord of your sign, right? You always got to watch his synodic cycle. You haven't seen this since 1976, 2000, and 2012 spring, where that reset button out a year was in place in regards to your health matters, 6th house, your work and work matters, your pets, your rentals, and your home life, and your office work life. Now, it can be very good for resetting your health if you've had some challenges. And it's also really good for resetting pet stories, getting a pet, a new pet. In fact, my Sagittarius sun ex-husband and I got our new dog Leela a new pet during the 2012 reset button. So, these sorts of things can be very clues by looking backwards. Now, the 6th house is debts and karmic and real, and Jupiter is bounty. And so there may be a real bounteous ability in the next year to pay down a credit card, pay off a mortgage, or eliminate a debt, or money owed to you coming back to you in some way. And energetically here, Jupiter could also be about a rental situation where you have a really blessed opportunity in the next year to rent out your property or to find a rental situation that's really blessed as a tenant, especially because, in the house of home is Neptune and Saturn flowing to this conjunction, and that can indicate some dream home rental, dream home opportunities, or a dream pet coming into your home as well. And we also note that the Jupiter conjunction is followed by the visible rise of Jupiter around the 7th of June. And that is in the 7th house of committed love and marriage, as well as clients and audience, as well as the way you are able to make legal agreements and contracts happen. Those things have extraordinarily fortunate outcomes for you in the course of the next 12 months after the conjunction, but more so after June 7th, when we get that visibility from Jupiter in your 7th house. Especially with the Venus star point here, if you're a single Sag, you can meet the love of your life in the next year, honestly. And if you're struggling in a relationship, but you can renew it and bless it in a new direction. Now, also, Jupiter is out of visibility until the 7th of June, and therefore off duty when it comes to your body, your 1st house, your body, your health, your sense of identity. So don't take anything for granted here. If you need to take care of your body a little bit better, don't be overly optimistic. You can just let this health challenge pass. You might need to look into it. And also, you may have to reconsider or pause until at least June the 7th on any actions and decisions regarding property, land, home, and real estate. We want Jupiter to be a visible planet, especially in the house of legal contracts, where you might sign a lease for a rental or even a purchase of a property, and you want the visibility of Jupiter. So wait if you can. What does the guiding light oracle tell us about this? About what your energetic is in the 12 months that follow this conjunction in Taurus. What do you need to know? Well, Sagittarius, you need to wish upon a star. So the 25th card of the Guiding Light Oracle says, wishing on a star. It's time, Sagittarius, for you to dream again. Go ahead, make a wish. It just might come true. Okay, it just might come true. course, wish fulfillment and dreaminess is a very Neptunian word, and Neptune does flow to Jupiter's Sun, suggesting you can make some dreams come true, especially in areas of your life to do with your debts and rentals, but long-term love stories as well. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. So what we have going on is we have a reset button where we can see that in your fifth house, you are starting something fresh. This is a house of children, romance, money, good luck, like winning the lottery, gambling, speculation, good fortune financially through lucky wins. A reset button here in regards to your children and your relationship to them or their lives. Also, pregnancy and fertility are here, including fertility for your children. Could be the birth of a grandchild in the next year, for example, or if you are young enough, a pregnancy for you or your partner. Now, and this Capricorn energy, you had this happen before. This is trine your ascendant. It's very positive. That would be 1976, May, I think, and April of 2000 and April of 2012. And you add a year. This is a kind of cycle you might want to go back and look at. What happened in those time frames? What can you compare it to? Okay. Now, your creativity, the muse, and your entrepreneurial instincts belong to the fifth house, as well as romantic love. So look for inception points of new developments around sexual and romantic love in the past, and is it back again? Now, there is a rising of Jupiter, and there is support from Neptune in your third house to engage in love through online dating, dreamy love and romance for online dating, but maybe also the local neighborhood, or through trips and travel or educational settings. And education in areas that fortify a natural talent or ability are blessed for you over the next year. When I look at Jupiter here, knowing he rises in your sixth house from the fifth, this can take a romantic dating story into more of a long-term dating arrangement. This can also take some of your creative projects and move them forward into like a livelihood direction. But also Jupiter rising in your sixth house is good for your health. And a lot of Capricorns will have solutions and improvements to their health, and sickness will be resolved over the course of the next year, starting on June the 7th, when we get a visible Jupiter through to spring of next year, 2025. Pets, blessed pets, rental situations, debt elimination, money owed you coming back, ideal work situations, and increasing success in work is part of the narrative. Now, because Jupiter is a ruler of your 12th house and also your third house, 12th house of foreign land revenue and also foreign lands travel, and also maybe your own self-undoing, and also 12th house matters to do with your what you do in your privacy of your home and your bed pleasures. That's off duty. In terms of Jupiter has no hand in it invisibly, right? He's invisible until the 9th or 7th of June. So wait before you make major decisions about 12th house matters. And also things to do with your third house, like short distance travel, short trips, sibling relationship matters, things to do with extended family, like cousins and nieces and nephews, kind of have a invisible lord, right? Not watching over it. So if you're going to make major changes in those areas of your life, neighbors and neighborhood included, kind of hold the pause button until June the 7th. And then throughout the rest of this cycle, a visible Jupiter till next spring, you're okay around that. What card do we have for you, Capricorns, from the Guiding Light Oracle? About the way the year progresses from May 18th to next spring regarding the Jupiter Abundance Reset button. Life Force Energy. It's the first card of the Guiding Light Oracle. It is time to engage in activities that rejuvenate your mind, your body, and your soul. Okay, go rejuvenate your body, mind, and soul with Jupiter rising in the house of sickness. That is classic. Rejuvenate your physical wellness, okay? And of course, the fifth house is the joy spark and the divine mind, what enthuses you, what brings you inspiration. It is the house of your soul. So your fifth house is where the Jupiter reset happens. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising. And yes, I am one of you. I'm an Aquarius rising. So here we go. Jupiter resetting in the house of home, property, land, and real estate, the mother, legacy, wealth from the family of origin are themes of the fourth house. Jupiter reset himself here in 1976. That would have been in the spring, in 2000 spring, and in 2012 in the April or the spring. These reset buttons also were followed by a year in which fourth house matters became very lucky, but very much on your radar. So legacy wealth, for example, if I use me as an Aquarius rising, I got an inheritance from my father and his estate during the window of the 2000 and to 2001 spring to spring reset button. Okay. Also, your home life could be prosperous, expansive, and good, and things you do in and from your home could be very successful over the course of the next 12 months. But and the support from Neptune and Saturn, it's in your second house of money and resources where you're getting very serious, but making your dreams come true. And the tangible hope for dreams can be real in the next year around your resources, finances, and assets and savings and possessions as it applies to the fourth house. And more particularly, the idea that you may purchase a home. You may assume the possession of a bounteous home over the course of the next 12 months from May 18th. And also, it's 18th, 19th, depends on your time zone. Also, this Jupiter reset button is indicating that you could get pregnant because Jupiter will rise in the house of pregnancy from that fourth house reset. Now, this only applies to the younger folk. All right. Otherwise, with Jupiter here, maybe your children will be pregnant and you will have the birth of a grandchild in the next year. My son and his significant other are trying to get pregnant this year. That would work for me. Jupiter can give you blessings and bounty as he rises in the sky and is visible again in early June in your fifth house around writing, creative projects, inspiration, entrepreneurship, sexuality, romance, fun, play, pleasure, vitality, the spark of life, and enjoying life again, finding joy again, the joie de vivre. That's where things begin to rise after the June 7th time frame through to next spring. We're waiting for Jupiter's synodic cycle. Well, he will conjunct, okay, the sun in Gemini next spring. This is similar to 2012 when Jupiter died in the heart of the sun in Taurus, yet rose in Gemini. So go back and compare some of the stories of the fourth and fifth house to how your life went in the spring of 2012 to the spring of 2013. Okay. Goodness gracious. Okay. What else? Jupiter's off duty and invisible until June 7th. So be careful around financial spending, decisions around money, actions you take around spending or earnings, because the second house, it does not have his wisdom at hand, as well as any decisions you make around friendship circles or career strategies around greater career gains. Those things are also kind of without Jupiter's wisdom, and relationships with an elder sibling as well. Don't have Jupiter's wisdom on board until after June the 7th. Just be more cautious about choices in those areas of your life because you're not seeing the big picture yet. So then we're going to take a guiding light oracle card for you. And how does Jupiter's sun reset button guide you in a way between this 18th of May through until next spring? What are your key words, guys? Aha, I got an interest in this one. I'm one of you, right? Follow the signs. Oh my God, I always follow the signs. Number 8, the 8th card. Look around you for clues in the next year. The answer to your question will be right in front of you. Okay, so follow your synchronicities, your inner messages, your portents and omens, okay? And see where they take you. Like, let the kisses from God, which is what I call synchronicities, show you the way. The breadcrumbs are there for you in the next year, especially around home, homeland, property, real estate, legacy wealth, and of course, the rising in the house of creativity and joy, romance and fun, pregnancy and fertility, including grandchildren, especially grandchildren, because the moon will be in Libra at the time of the reset button, and that's your house of grandchildren. And book publishing. Okay. Some success there, maybe. Now let's move on to the last sign, which is Pisces, sun, moon, and rising. All through this video, there's children playing in the background. Jupiter rules children. This makes me smile because this is exactly the kind of sign and synchronicity that happens when you do astrology. I record here quite often. I don't have children in the background, but today I do. So here we have a story for you, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising, where Jupiter's reset button happens in your third house of siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews, neighbors, and neighborhood environment, the daily life about which you go, the places you go, the stores, the shops, the restaurants, the neighbors and neighborhood, and the daily routines of your life. This is a part of your chart that is having a reset or a change. But it's lucky and prosperous and good. You'll have to go back, of course, to compare what happened in 1976, 2000, and 2012 spring, add 12 months after each one of those, to see how you had some prosperous and lucky events reset you here in those matters. Now, it's particularly younger siblings, especially one younger than you, more than just categorically siblings that are implicated here in a positive way. Travel opportunities and skills-based learning opportunities are golden. And if you do the online world, social media land as a part of your life or work, this is also going to have positive increase for you in the next 12 months. Now, Jupiter here is also connected to Neptune in the house of you, and some of your tangible long-range goals and dreams that you wish into fulfillment and you're doing it realistically because of Saturn, indicate that you can have some dreams come true regarding your relationship to travel, skills-based learning and education, or neighbor and neighborhood settings. Some of you may change your neighborhood as a result of this particular conjunction. Now, you're going to note that we have an invisible Jupiter. And when Jupiter can't be seen in the sky, which he will not be until about June the 7th, then you're going to be unable to be effectively wise when it comes to career decisions. That's your 10th house. Kind of hold off if you can about major changes or decisions, because you might be overly optimistic and Jupiter's wisdom is unavailable here. Also, around your body, your health and health matters, because Jupiter is in the house of, Jupiter rules the house of your body, your ascendant, especially you Pisces moon and ascendant. Be careful around issues to do with your body, overestimating your body's ability to do something, not being overly optimistic or jovial about a potential health challenge. You don't want to do that right now. Yes, after the 7th of June, you have more wisdom and clarity, but not until then. Your attitudes towards your career as well for the sun Pisces are maybe not grounded in wisdom. So wait until the 7th of June for more clarity. Now I'm going to pull a card for you to see what is the message for you. Oh, Jupiter will rise, dies in your 3rd house, and will rise in your 4th house. Home, property, and real estate. Looks like a change of neighbors and neighborhood due to a change of home and real estate, or bounteous prosperity, wellness, expansion, and abundance, and good feelings and joy regarding situations to do with land, home, property, and real estate, domestic and private life over the course of the next year, and a possibility of some inheritance money as well coming to you after the visible rise of Jupiter, June the 7th through to next June. Some of you may come into some money as a result of this connection to Jupiter rising in the 4th house of the mother, the father, the family of origin, and legacy wealth. Now, even so, if it's not that, it's just some kind of like excitement and goodness regarding your home life and your home itself. And because of the reset button or the death in the 3rd house, it feels to me like some of you may move your home to a new neighborhood, and that will be very delightful for you in the next year. What does the Guiding Light Oracle have to say for you as you approach this next 12 months, this indication of the themes of this reset button mostly in your 3rd house, but also some of your 4th house? Your message is this: bumpy ride. Sorry, guys, you're the only one who got a card like that. Don't be afraid to make a change, okay? Regardless of how hard you perceive it to be, it can be fun if you allow it and you let go of resistance to it. So it's about, don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid. It could be bumpy if you resist. It could be fun if you don't. So obviously there's going to be change because you have Jupiter rising in a fourth house. That's angular, and it can change your relationship to your career, your marriage, and your sense of self. So it is a big change here for you Pisceans. And so you have to go with that flow. Don't resist the change and allow yourself to move into a connection with the possibility of excitement and fun instead of fear and dread about some big changes coming your way in the next year. Thank you everybody for listening to this Jupiter story. I hope that was useful, helpful, and somewhat instructive. My next video will be coming out, and it's probably on the moon, probably on the full moon, coming up soon in the sign of Sagittarius. I think it's Sagittarius. I'm recording early access ad-free, May the 3rd. Patreon community will get this today or tomorrow. Depends on my upload speeds. And then you don't have it, and they get it without ads, early access ad-free, plus a bunch of Zoom meetings with me a month. And if you try my Patreon community out for a mere $5 even, you're going to get Synastry, the Key to Purpose, and Chiron, the Key to Purpose is Synastry, Are You My Person? 2 free course replays valued at $44 of resale value for free, just for trying me out. Thanks, guys. Ciao, ciao, and have a wonderful Jupiter reset in the sign of Taurus and the rise in Gemini.